Hi, welcome to Red Mountain Rehab, where we are empowering people to understand their behaviors, build emotional resilience, and develop tools to create lasting change. We're going to learn about having few and clear rules, exercises, and a family plan. So, were you losing opportunities in relationships because of burning others out? We learned about number ones, twos, and threes, and what was a pre conventional stage, a conventional stage, and a post conventional stage. Have you been told you're too rigid? Are people closing down in front of you? What would you like to learn about relationships and the rules and how to apply them? And let's avoid hard life lessons by having just a few rules. First of all, if you remember my one, twos, and threes, thank you, number ones, for being you. When you're yourself, a number one is great about just being free and being like a wild animal. I'm somebody who owned a rehab building, and I had lots of clients with trauma, people who had been to prison, lots of individuals who had suicidal thinking. I've had every color of human being. And I'll tell you that many of them were number ones. Almost all of them had a lot of number one traits. They were hedonistic. And I fell in love with them. And they taught me so strong that you really need to like let yourself out. There was incredible artists. There were wonderful dancers. There were people that would express themselves through the way that they dressed, the way that they would talk. They were like, everybody loved being around that type of personality, which is why they got in so much trouble. And the amount of effort it took to keep them in on their schedules was a lot. And for those that didn't have some kind of a structure inside of them, like a rigid home that they were in, or any church, any kind of religion of church that had been in the area that they were at, that they'd been exposed to, they were really wild. And I learned to embrace how wonderful it is to remind myself that I'm a animal of this planet and need to let my hair down often. And that's what being here is really about. Before there was money and structure and order, that there was a side of us that it was very healthy and beautiful to be free and nap when you want to nap, like, eat if you want to eat, and then you actually don't eat as much, and like hug and care for people when you want to, laugh a lot, and just be frivolous, cook like exciting foods. This is what we live for. So thank you for being you. And you're a total pain. The amount of work it takes for other people to make sure that you're conforming is exhausting. So the good side of you is a lesson to all, and the hard side of you, I want you to know that putting other people through you not being controlled, self-controlled, is really hard. You can be some of the most difficult people on the planet, and it gets really tiring for other people to have to keep getting you in line when you're being unsafe. And the one thing that you're craving, which is freedom, and to be able to be yourself openly like that, is actually making other people think you need leadership. And you do. And when you are too loose, you can hurt others, exhaust, stress. When you're in a room and you're just being too frivolous, and it's not that time to be frivolous, because there is a great time for it. I practice making sure I get lots of time now from being around a lot of number ones. You can hurt a group so much. That's like the heckler on a comedy show, or the student that wants everything to be focused on them when the teacher's trying to lead three people through a lesson and they all have to take a test that's important for them to go to college. When you're working and everybody's in uniform and they all care about the project, and you're there being a horse's ass, this is very difficult for others. So this is not healthy behavior. Being a number one means you need to swim to the island of number two and have a lot of time in number two. Be around mentors, pick a structured situation, and completely give yourself over and surrender to the fact that we all need some structure and love. And then give yourself times to be a number one, and let it loose. But it feels good to have your bills paid, and it feels good to be not in trouble with taxes, and it feels really good to have a like consistent practice of a skill set that not just you benefit from, but you can help others with. It's worth the effort, but the mentality is like swimming from one island to another, and you have to let go of a lot of self-centeredness and self-serving ways, and in order to drop that baggage to get into those waters, to go from one island to another. But when you get there, it doesn't mean that you've lost your freedom. It means when you have a relationship with that container, that like structured life, that you have more fun, you have more money, you've got healthier relationships of less toxic people. You know, if you're in number onesville with all the number ones, there's a lot of you, and they're all causing a lot of trouble, and they're so fun. It's the fun group, and you're probably experiencing flakiness, exposure to less safety, um, getting in front of things that aren't healthy or good for you, maybe having the night of your life or the day of your life, but then at the end you pay for it. So there's a lot to it. But what you do, and you need to be that authentic side of you, is the best. So, number twos. Thank you, number twos, for being yourself. I love and appreciate you, and we wouldn't have a structured society without you. You make sure that the streets are safe and that there's no trash and that the rules are maintained and that kids can go to school and follow a process. You make sure that the bridges are built and they don't collapse. And you make sure that like pretty much everything we need in society has got a structure to it. And here's the other thing. You can really hurt people. You can be some of the worst. Because of your lack of willingness to see past rules, sometimes you've caused some of the biggest devastation on the planet. If you know how rules work now, you'll know that a war, which is the most horrible thing in existence, is packed loaded with soldiers that will follow it to the T, and as well they must. If you can think of the religious wars, there could have been a rules difference between, faith alone versus grace, um, or faith and good works, Martin Luther versus the Catholic Church. There's wars, Muslim wars, Spanish conquering. There, all of the wars that have to do with a particular structure, like a religion or a new imposed state. That think of what it does. It's true. Nazis, think of all of that. This is truly what happens. It's in the cusp. What I want you to be aware of is the cusp is what's going to happen to you if you don't blank. So people can take something like the rules of Christianity, and there's a lot of them, and they can make it extremely ugly. They can also make it beautiful. And what it can come to is that we need to remember in the world of rules that we're pointing society up, that the rules are made to support people, not the other way around. So when you're living by your structure, you got to be aware of your inner control freak. And you got to memorize how that sensation is. What are you like when you can't let go of control? And is it hurting a human? The rules of math and engineering and science are different than our rules with humans. Humans need to be loved and respected, and they're here for a reason. So we have to be a good steward. Here's the thing is that level twos are above level ones, right? They do have more leadership ability. The reason why there's such a mess with the number ones world is because they have a hard time organizing. Our country, the US, has tons of starvation. We have no reason to starve. We're very wealthy. But the reason we starve is because people are disorganized. And as a social worker for many years, 23 years, I can tell you, and I've worked for the child services programs too, that when you go into those homes, that if people don't have what they need, it isn't because there's a lack of food out there. It's because number ones are disorganized. And that is something to be sad for them, not to be cruel to them about. Moms who have a bunch of kids and people think, like the rules, people can think the reason they do that is for tax benefits. Not the case. The reason they do that is because they can't stop. They don't have the boundaries. And they're not thinking 3 minutes ahead, much less more than how they're going to take advantage of taxes. They're not thinking of taxes. You're thinking of taxes. Thanks for caring about taxes. I appreciate having the roads to drive on. Here now, the next part is I want to thank our number threes. Thank you so much, number threes. You are a gift because you're the ones that we can go to when we have a rules or the rules situation, and we're like, yeah, but my situation, it's getting hurt from this. This shouldn't apply to me. This fee didn't make sense. This website took my money. Can you please understand me here? This whatever the rule is, it didn't, I can't do it. Like, I'm not in a healthy marriage. I need you to loosen up and let me out of it. Like, people go to their priest and say, I need to get out of the marriage. And some priests would be like, okay, well, let's come up with a process for that. This is what we can do. This is a gift to understand the evolution of what human needs are. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for all the ways that you're willing to put your values on the line and care about them, even if it's unhappy for you. This, you're a gift. And all of us need to understand how to think that abstract way. The only other side of threes is that we can sometimes be self-righteous. And because we do have rules and we trust rules and respect rules and follow our own rules, is it important for us to listen to the number twos and not put the number ones above the number twos, or think that the number ones should deserve an endless amount of freedoms, because they don't. They need to be structured. In my history, owning a rehab building with a lot of individuals with a lot of criminal behaviors, I will tell you that many of you walk around and have no idea what it took for you to be safe, how much energy it takes. So their structure can be good. Not all of their structure is good. They can do it way too hard. But we need to sometimes tailor back our threes into a two. But you are, to be honest, the strongest of all of the groups. The people who can think abstract, it has taken a lot of work to understand and experience empathy, and that's what we have to strive for. So ask yourself, where could you be hurting others right now with your rules? Do you know? Do you see it? How are you acting when that happens? Is this the control freak thing? Let yourself be aware of it. Know the difference between I'm trying to control and I have a positive outcome. Involve yourself whenever you're trying to control something in positive outcome and willingness to be surprised that there could be new information that comes in, that you're collaborating with somebody. There's another person whose feelings matter. How can you evolve? Let's get into how we see others. Now we understand ones and twos. Now let's get into how we communicate with others. So I made it easy for myself. Having had tons of employees and a lot of clients in rehab, I made it easy for myself to understand, and I would train my team. This person's concrete and this person's abstract. Abstract people are like 15 to 20% of people. So most are concrete. And you can get away with being concrete and make it easy for yourself. Abstract people can get it. But here's what I've learned: you can't throw like empathy thoughts or how did that other person feel at someone who really can't stretch that far. There's no point. Concrete people, it's like this or that, good or bad. Punishment is this pain, and the good thing coming is this. And then you have to reinforce it. An abstract thinker, you could say, look, you did this mean thing. How do you think she felt when you did that? If they are there mentally, then that's great. Otherwise, you're wasting your breath. So like 80% of people, you and your explanations, you're really like wasting your air. Do you have, or do you not have clear rules? So here's another thing. Think of countries, think of like some of the tribes out here in Arizona. There's some areas of those localities that don't have rules. And what happens to the people out there is terrible. It's terrible. In Africa, there are generations upon generations in areas that don't have structure. And there's one place in Africa. I've been to Africa, and there's one place, and they had like, I don't know who knows how many generations of rock breakers. So you would be born into a family of rock breakers, and your whole life was using a big rock to break down other rocks, and then using the next, like, making smaller rocks out of big rocks all day long, your whole life. And then your kids would be born, and that's what they would do too. There wasn't structure, government, not like very little of it. So if you have no rules in a part of your life, none, they're in trouble. Try to make very few, but make rules. So if you don't have a health routine and we're overwhelmed with information, just have three. Like, give yourself, this is my health routine, and these are my clear rules. I track macros. I exercise 7 days a week. I drink 32 ounces of water every morning, or I drink a gallon of water every day. Have rules and follow them. And please write down yours. I want you to look at your life and go, where do you not have rules? And please pause if you need more time. So, how do you handle an abstract person when it comes to rules? You can give metaphors. And when they're really abstract, like at the building I ran, we'd have people that would complain a lot. And they could complain, have concrete people and be complainers, and they were abstract people. But the ones that started to see other people's needs, those are my abstract thinkers. And I know they were growing. They were feeling safe enough in our environment, but also in general kind of had the depth to see the needs of the staff. They'd be like, oh, you look tired today. They might say a comment like, the group, they would think like that. The group isn't having enough, like, we need more ketchup for the group. Those kinds of words. So they're thinking in a bigger thought. When those people complain, my abstract folks, this is good. You need to get them busy. So when someone would complain about grocery ordering on the staff, then I would have the manager pick somebody from, one of the clients and say, let's teach them grocery shopping. So they would get to use the company card, and they would sit in front of the computer, and they could go through the thing that they were complaining about, not as a punitive measure. It was a place of honor to do grocery shopping. And they were meant for that. The abstract thinker was meant for learning something new and to be put into a place where they were productive. It was wise to do this. It took work off our plate to do this. And it gave them that sense of power as they were growing into more and more advanced thinking, and wanted them to handle responsibilities well. So give them that. Then they get to go and bother everybody and say, what do you want for lunch? They get to hear the pushback. They get to see what a pain people are. And then they end up with a skill set at the end where they can, like, get really good at budgeting, for example. So that's what you would do when you get an abstract. Like my kids, one of them started becoming abstract, and I knew he was getting more and more abstract because he was like fighting me when I told him to go to bed. And this happened when he was like 12. I'm like, why is he fighting me so much? Well, he was starting to get very abstract. He was like, your reasoning for putting me to bed at this hour isn't valid because blank, blank, and blank. And what I did is I had read this book about how to give your kids freedoms, and you go from, it's called Bite the Hand That Feeds You. It's a wonderful book. And you go from standing above your kid, and you give them an area of their life, and that's their freedom. And then you stand beside them. And once you give them the freedom, that's it. That's now theirs. And you have to be like, accept that they're not going to be needing you forever. And you keep giving them freedoms until the idea is that they are like going to emancipate from you. Planned emancipation is what he teaches. So that kid, all right, I'm going to give you your bedtime, right? Like, here's the deal. You're going to screw up a lot. And however you're going to get yourself to bed, I'm going to let you. My other kid, I can't do that with. I still can't do that, and he's 12. So it's not about the age as much as it is you're seeing the signs. And when people give their problems with an expectation of others to solve them up, like that's where you give your problems and that's where I give my problems, is people that I think are more congruent than I am in an area, and I need to come to them with my issues. They're my big brothers and my big sisters. So when someone's not a little brother or little sister anymore, they can see big brother and big sister's needs. Usually people, they can see problems of the people below them. They hero down and they give their problems up. So when you get your abstract thinker, because they're starting to see the holes in like the leadership, or they're seeing what your needs are, and they can think about meeting your needs. Those are signs that they're ready to be elevated, and you want them to be elevated to more responsibility. So, okay, how do you handle a concrete thinker? Concrete thinker is like clean, very simple, and stop talking. If you blank, then blank. They're easy. They're so much easier. If you don't blank, then blank. And don't mix the two, because you're missing out on what your more abstract thinkers can offer. And don't insult anyone. There's no need. Just remember, with a concrete thinker or an abstract thinker, that don't make rules that are point them down. If you're like that and you're trying to be punitive or just have power and control over another person or punch down, then you're being a bad steward of your position. If you have more congruence or authority than them, you need to think of them like a little brother and little sister. You need to care about them and hear them, and not punch down, not make their life harder. Understand, it's already hard. It's already harder. If they're concrete, if they're simpler as a person, they're already dealing with life being a little harder. They have to work harder than you do. So don't be like that. Never make a rule that points them down, punches them down, hurts them. Unless they're danger to you, then that's different. Okay, concrete thinkers. How do they look? They struggle with empathy questions. They prefer what happened, what's next, make it clean, respond to immediate, tangible consequences. There's a loss of privilege. Here's the structure. They need step by step, clear solutions and as few as possible. And you'll use repetition and leverage for them. Abstract thinker, you can give them imagination, emotions, motivation. You can tell jokes. You can tell that they're abstract too, because the type of jokes that they can handle could be like really dark, or um, jokes that involve a lot of imagination. Like a storytelling joke will go for anyone, but one that follows a lot of steps and gets a little weird, that's abstract thinker. They can handle why questions and hypotheticals very comfortably. They're motivated by values, principles, and long-term benefits. So they're a healthy, good thing for them to be fighting with you. As long as they're not being really disrespectful, turn them into an asset as soon as you can. Like, not think of them as a liability that you have to control. Like, flow with that. They see patterns, connections, and they can generate innovative solutions. Again, like they're useful. You want to keep them busy. Use metaphors and analogies, motives, future-oriented reasoning. Okay, so here's my freedoms chart that I did for my kids. I have one that is pretty concrete and a kid that's more abstract. And as he ages, he'll get more and more abstract. It's my responsibility to put more, like to give them a freedom and add more, and to not take it away. That's the hard part. Things that you can give freedoms from when your kid's showing signs, whether they're 10 years old, they could be kind of abstract, or if they're 16. I'm someone who moved out when I was 16. I emancipated at age 16. People would say, well, you're supposed to do it at 18. That's the rule. But I was ready. So that's when I left my family, and I went and had 2 jobs, and I went to high school, and I moved and got my own apartment, and I got to high school every day without a car. I did what I had to do. So it doesn't matter about the age sometimes. It matters about the person. Other people, like my oldest son, he didn't move out on his own until he was like 21 actually, that he wasn't quite ready. So that's okay. right? People can be not at the exact age. If your family can't stand taking care of someone past 18, that's up to you guys. You just get them there as soon as you're able to. I understand that caregiving should be something that goes on forever as a parent, depending on your kid. But it hopefully isn't. It's a lot of work. So here's my concrete thinker, right? My teenager. So here's the rules. Responsibilities, clean. I put 3 on each, right? Makes my life easier. And you can have more, but I advise 3, especially starting. And we write it out and we post it and we meet about it, and it's clean. And I keep my consequences clean because I need a patient, peaceful life. Chores done by 8 p.m. by the end of the week. You use respectful words, never cussing. No internet is the consequence. Right? He was saying bad words, and so we needed to chuck that behavior. A lot of behaviors already off of this, which is great. Homework completed at night by 8 p.m. If not, no internet. The reward for that one is eggs. He likes eggs. And the rewards for getting the chores done is that he gets to use electronics. On his freedoms list, he likes the downstairs. So he can have the downstairs, and that's his. It's whenever he wants it. For my abstract thinker, I think I was telling you, that kid, he hated getting told when to go to bed, and he would fight me on it. So it was important that I let that go. I'm not going to be there telling him when he's 18 to go to bed. So I gave it to him as his freedom. And next freedom's coming. I won't say it out loud to him, but who he picks as friends, I'm going to take it off my plate. Because you can do that too. You can have your own little side chart about things you just stop parenting about. You just take it off your list. You have to. They have to learn to fail. If they don't fail, then they're going to have big failures later. So you want to do it while it's safe. Homework completed a certain hour, chores by the end of the week. In his case, no Xbox. The other one doesn't have an Xbox. When mom puts away electronics, he used to go and sneak and take them back. So he would lose electronics for 3 days for that one. But the beauty of this is it's clean. Like he and I and both of them agreed and we understood it. So I could just go back to this, and then they're simple. I know this sounds crazy, but we're going to have this for our partner too. And it's not to give to them, not the freedoms list. That's just for you. You write it down. We as partners love to control each other. It's not good. Let it go. Understand, what is it? Like, where is my body feeling when it's a control thing for me, right? Your body might be different. Like, let it go when it's all about control. Don't boss them unless you're doing something and it's going in the right direction, pointing them up. Like, I think it's great to have a policy called, when someone tells me there's like another adult, a fellow adult, my like equal, it tells me a story that I don't know the other person, to just listen to their side of it. I can, in my head, maybe be like, oh yeah, it sounds like you were the prick there to my person. But if that story they're telling me, it's not like a pattern of theirs. It's just them in a situation and they're looking for my expression. I'm not going to probably enable it and be like, oh, poor you. But I don't get on the team with the other person. The story has another character, and the character they're upset with, I just don't add to, like, well, let's look at the character's perspective and you're probably doing something wrong here. That's just a policy that I keep. But I have really good company that I'm around. So I can trust that some of the things I hear, it's not a person being awful. My thinking is like, if I don't know the other person, why am I getting on their team? This person that they're talking about, why would I do that? I'm clearly on this person's team. Doesn't mean I have to enable bad behavior, but it's a choice I make, is I don't do the devil's advocate thing and try to make that person wrong if they're coming to me about whatever. So you can have your own little rules. And so if you have a spouse relationship, we're going to work on this right now. So if you have a partner, in your head, you are going to give them a lot of freedoms. Look at everywhere you could be trying to control this person. And I want you to write down, for your sake, it's where you can reference it, where you're not going to do it again. And then together, you'll have your own agreements. Like, when I hear the word husband, what are my expectations of that? Oh, well, I expect him to put fuel in my car. I expect him to, help pay the bills, of course, or maybe he takes care of these ones, I take care of those ones. I want to be hugged every day. I want to be backed up. if there's a part of me where I'm the leader, and I will back you up if there's a part that you're the leader. Maybe one person's stronger at finances, so then you're the backup. You have their back, but they can be a stronger leader. Or you're more in control of the school stuff with the kids, so now you're the leader. You just need them to back you up. So you two agree on that. But I want you to think about anywhere in your marriage that you're controlling the other person. And I want you to really evaluate that and take a lot of that responsibility off your plate, because that's an adult. And even if you're helping them and you guys help each other back and forth, you need to let go a lot of that need to control or parenting of each other. That has to stop. Or rules you put on yourself in your role that are excessive. So when I had my third child and married with a third child, I used to put on myself, I was going to do his laundry. I had done his laundry for the years that we dated. We were together for 4 years before we got married. And I, somewhere within I don't know, year 3 or 4, there was too many of them. There was too many humans. And I said to myself, I'm going to stop doing his laundry. To myself, I'm not going to be mean about it. Maybe I even had a conversation. And inside me, I died. I felt so guilty. It felt cruel to me to cease that addition of a role and responsibility on me. I felt like a bad wife, all of this stuff, but I couldn't keep it up. His wardrobe was so many clothes, like 2 closets worth, and he always liked to dress up. I couldn't, I let it go. And it guilted me for a long time, and he never cared. It didn't matter to him at all. So that means all those times for years that I killed myself over it, it didn't matter in a good way either. And so there was a huge internal war going on inside me and my nervous system and my grappling with rules that was me, myself, and I, and didn't involve him at all. I wasn't being cruel to stop doing it. And 2, I wasn't being super helpful by doing it, because when I stopped, he didn't care. And you have stuff like that where you're like, oh, I'm going to toe the line on my expectation of myself. And then you find out that it doesn't matter to others. Like you're just pushing yourself for nonsense or expecting something from someone else who doesn't think that's their job. You're like mad at them. And they're like, I never expected I didn't know that you decided to assign that to me and that you've been mad at me ever since. Like, what? Like, I don't, like, some people have trackers. They have a tracker on their other person's phone. That's something that they agree to in their relationship, hopefully. If you didn't agree to it, talk about it. And if it's not okay, it's a no. Don't control another person. But if you do agree to it, then, then you're good. If one of you decides that's how it's going to be, then you're going to have an issue. So the rules are going to be that way. So anyway, it's good stuff. Just remember, too many rules will make you unhappy. Too few rules will make you very unhappy. And then having a few consistent rules will make you happy. And like we said before, write down your rules about the roles in your family, what you're expecting from them and what you're expecting from yourself, and try to remove most of them. And remember that concrete people probably can't see your needs. Stop expecting that from them. You're going to waste your time. No point in getting abstract with them, teaching them about what it could feel like for them to have been mean. They don't know what you're talking about. They're not listening. They stopped a long time ago. And understand, super rules people also probably can't see you. They aren't looking at what your need as a human is, because the rule to them is blaring. And that only about 20% of people really can have the capacity for empathy. So if you think everybody in your family is like crazy, no, they're probably like a perfect group of the population. So, and then no rules is worse than too many rules. So don't be like, look at me, I'm not creating too many rules. Your house probably chaos, and everyone's probably stressed out. It's good to have a few markers. And just have that part of you that needs to control memorized, and then how to get rid of that, right? You get to, go ahead and go all the way into it. Just feel it all the way and then let it go. Tense. Oh, there's that need to control everyone. Oh, here it comes. That's what that feels like. Behaviors start in the body. So be obsessed with what's going on with your body while you're trying to change a behavior. All right, now I let it go. Feels good. I do hope this helped.